Deep in the uncharted reaches of the Nibiru expanse, the research vessel Aurora's light drifted under a canopy of distant stars. Inside the ship's cramped cabin, Dr. Mara Ellison pressed her forehead against the cool metal wall. Her breath came in shallow bursts as she checked the console readouts for the 20th time. The life support system was failing. Alarms blared softly, each one a reminder that every breath could be her last. She glanced at the viewport. Outside, the empty blackness of space stretched on endlessly, broken only by the faint shimmer of gas clouds and the glow of faraway suns. For a xenobiologist, this was the most exciting frontier imaginable. Yet excitement felt far away now, swallowed by the rising panic in her chest. "Come on, 10 more minutes," she whispered, running a hand through her dark hair. "Just 10 more minutes until we reach the relay station." Her suit's internal. Speaker crackled. "Warning, oxygen reserves at 20%, life support integrity compromised." Mara sighed. The backup air tanks in her suit could keep her alive for only 5 minutes outside the ship. She had to act fast. She strode down the narrow corridor that led to the engineering bay. Sparks flew from exposed cables, casting brief red flares on the walls. She grabbed a portable injector pack from a storage locker and tested it. The green light blinked steadily. "Injector ready?" she confirmed. Her companion, an exploration android named Iku, hovered beside her. Its sleek silver frame reflected the sporadic sparks. "Dr. Ellison, our systems will not hold much longer. I recommend a direct excursion to find external power sources." Mara nodded. Iku had grown almost human in its gentle insistence. No. Let's shut down non-essential systems to buy time." She tapped commands into the nearby terminal. Lights dimmed in sections of the ship, and panels clicked as they powered down. They suited up. The airlock hissed open, revealing the endless void. Mara's visor slid down, sealing her helmet. She took a deep, steadying breath. "Deploying tether," Iku announced. It shot a glowing blue line into the darkness, anchoring them to the ship's hull. Mara tested her jet thrusters. A gentle push sent her floating toward the ship's damaged power coupling. She tried to access the damaged conduit, but the panel was fused by an unknown organic residue. Its surface pulsed with a faint bioluminescence, as if alive. "Strange," Mara murmured. She reached out and touched the glowing substance. It felt warm and slightly sticky, like the surface of a ripe fruit. Her heart pounded. Nothing in known xenobiology matched this reaction. Suddenly, the ship lurched. An explosion rocked the hull. Alarm screamed inside her helmet. She lost control for an instant. The tether line snapped. "Dr. Ellison!" Iku's voice crackled with urgency. Mara kicked her thrusters in a panic, tumbling through space. Then, almost as if by gentle gravity, she drifted toward a distant shape rising out of the darkness. It looked massive, easily larger than the Aurora's light itself. At first she thought it was an asteroid, but as she drew closer, the surface revealed cells, veins, and a soft green glow. It was alive. A living structure, drifting quietly among the stars. An organism this size. Mara whispered, awe mixing with alarm. "I've never seen anything like it." Iku's tether found the organism's surface and anchored them both to its side. Mara secured her line and pushed off the hull toward an indentation that resembled an entrance. The organic walls pulsed rhythmically, like the breath of a great beast. She forced a door open, a slimy membrane that gave way under pressure. Warm air rushed out and her suit's sensors flared. The inside of the structure was vast, lit by soft green bioluminescence that shot through veins like lantern light. The air smelled of fresh rain and moss, strangely pleasant in the cold void. Mara floated inside, mesmerized. The walls curved upward into vaulting arches of living tissue. Every surface throbbed with life, as if the structure itself had a heartbeat. She moved slowly, guided by instinct, deeper into the living corridors. Iku followed closely, its optical sensors recording every detail. "Dr. Ellison, interior dimensions exceed 2 kilometers. Unknown organism taxonomy. No signs of other life forms." Her visor display showed critical oxygen warnings. She had only 2 minutes left. But she couldn't turn back now, not when she was so close to something incredible. A faint hum reached her ears, though the suit's audio feed should have canceled external sounds. It was musical, like a soft choir. She followed it until the corridor opened into a grand chamber. Pale light spilled out, revealing walls carved by nature's hand and veins of crystal that glowed softly. At the chamber's center sat a throne, an organic seat grown from bone-like ridges and living crystal. Seated upon it was a figure so tall that her head nearly touched the vaulted ceiling. She wore a flowing gown of shimmering fibers that pulsed in time with the chamber's glow. Mara's breath caught in her throat. This was no mere creature. This was a queen. The alien turned her head, and those eyes, immense liquid pools of violet, locked onto Mara's. For a moment, time seemed to slow. The glow of the veins dimmed as if the entire organism focused on the two of them. Then, a voice whispered inside Mara's mind, "Please don't die." Mara's heart froze. The words were soft but clear, full of compassion and fear. They came not through sound, but through thought. She realized the words were meant for her, spoken by the queen herself. Mara's fingers tightened on the tether. Her visor flashed a critical warning. Oxygen at 5%. She knew she should retreat, return to the ship, and repair the life support. But fascination rooted her in place. She felt an unshakable pull, a connection deeper than language. The queen rose from her throne. Her movements were graceful, almost liquid. As she glided toward Mara, the chamber's glow intensified. Veins of light pulsed faster, like a drumbeat echoing through the creature's body. Despite her failing air supply, Mara managed to form words. "Who are you? What is this place?" The queen's lips did not move, yet Mara heard the answer in her mind. "I am Arvale. This vessel carries the last hope of my world. You are the first outsider to find us." Mara's chest tightened. The weight of those words settled on her. The last hope of her world. And she, a lone human scientist, stood at the threshold of that hope. "Please don't die." The queen's plea echoed again, softer now, tinged with sorrow. Mara knew that the queen spoke not only to her fragile life support suit, but also to something greater, the possibility of friendship, understanding, and a bridge between two worlds. A sudden thought struck her. If the queen's life force was tied to this living ship, then its fate and hers were entwined. Saving this creature might mean saving an entire civilization. But could she help? Could human science reach this far? Before she could answer, her suit's life support gave one final alarm. Darkness pressed at the edges of her vision. She gasped, fighting for a breath. Arvale held out a slender hand, tipped with crystalline growths. "Take my hand," the queen offered in silence. Mara's mind raced. Reaching out could mean merging with the queen's strange biology. It could mean gaining precious seconds of air, or losing everything. She took a shaky breath and extended her hand. The moment her fingers brushed the queen's, a warmth spread through her suit. The pulsing veins overhead brightened, and the air inside the chamber shifted, richer and sweeter. Mara felt her fear fade, replaced by wonder. As her vision cleared, she met Arvale's gaze once more. The creature's eyes glowed with relief and hope. And in that instant, Mara knew her life and the fate of an alien world hung in the balance. Mara's hand trembled as it lay against Arvale's crystalline fingertips. Warmth spread through her suit, and she felt a sudden surge of energy. The bioluminescent veins overhead glowed brighter, flooding the chamber with soft light. For the first time since her oxygen began to fail, Mara felt hope rather than dread. The queen's silent invitation pulsed in her mind. "Walk with me." Carefully, Mara let go of the tether and stepped off the chamber floor. The ground beneath her feet was soft, like living moss that cushioned each footfall. Arvale rose. From her throne, her gown's shimmering fibers rippling like water. With each gliding step, the queen guided Mara toward a wide corridor lined with crystalline growths. Inside them, Mara could see flickers of memory, floating cities, vast forests, twin moons rising above winding rivers. These images swirled in her mind as if they belonged to her own thoughts. "I see your world," Mara whispered, voice echoing strangely in her helmet. She halted beside a cluster of glowing crystals. "It is beautiful." Arvael did not speak aloud, yet Mara understood the pride and sorrow mixing in her mind. "It was beautiful," the queen replied. "My people called it Silvoria. We lived in harmony with every living thing, but a poison seeped into the soil. The forests died. Our rivers stilled. My life and my world began to fade as one." Mara's chest tightened. She knelt to touch the nearest crystal, cupping it gently. The surface pulsed under her fingertips. "Tell me more," she urged. "I want to help." Arvael paused, as if weighing her decision. Then a flood of thought washed into Mara's mind. Images of dead trees, cracked earth, skeletal remains of giant beasts. She sensed the queen's anguish, the burden of centuries. "My life force flows through this vessel," Arvael conveyed. "Without me, the organism dies, and with it every seed of life on Silvoria." Mara swallowed hard. "You're kind. You share a life bond with your world. If you weaken, so does the planet." She could feel tears pricking her eyes. "That's unimaginable." A soft thought touched her mind. "Will your people help?" Mara stood and faced the queen. "On Earth, we once faced our own crisis. A great ice age nearly wiped us out. We learned to adapt, to engineer solutions for our planet's health. I believe we can do the same for Silvoria." Light flickered in the crystals around them, as if responding to Mara's words. Arvael's gaze held something new. Cautious hope. "You promise?" Mara felt the weight of that promise. "Yes, I promise I will try." Arvael extended a slender arm. They entered a side corridor whose walls throbbed gently. The air here smelled faintly of jasmine and earth. Mara realized her visor's HUD now registered steady oxygen levels. The queen's life energy, it seemed, had temporarily stabilized Mara's suit. They reached a vast alcove where living machinery grew from the walls. Veined conduits, living cables that pulsed with light, and crystalline nodes that hummed. At the center stood a circular dais with a hollow siphon, clearly meant to extract or infuse energy. Arvael paused, her head tilting as if listening to the organism's voice. Mara examined the dais. "This must be part of your world's life cycle system." She knelt and touched one of the crystalline nodes. Her gloved fingers tingled. "If we could reverse the process, use this system to channel healing energy instead of draining it." Arvael sent a flurry of images, sequences of membrane-like panels opening to let in water, microorganisms streaming through channels, seeds planted in living soil, roots winding through crystal tendrils. The queen's thoughts narrated the cycle, how the organism filtered and purified, how it seeded the planet's soil with life-sustaining microbes. Mara stood, determination hardening her features. "Your system is brilliant, self-regulating, symbiotic, but it needs the right filter microbes. On Earth, we have extremophiles that can break down toxins and rebuild soil. I can adapt them into a nanogel that works with your organism's channels." The chamber glowed gently as if Arvael's organism responded to Mara's plan. "Will it harm the organism?" the queen asked in thought. "Not if we calibrate it carefully," Mara assured. "I'll work with your crystals to test reaction rates. We'll begin with tiny doses, see how the system responds, then scale up." She rummaged in her suit pack and produced a small data pad. "I need to set up a temporary lab, something simple but enough to mix and monitor samples." Arvael inclined her head. The walls around them pulsed brighter, and a section of the floor receded, revealing a shallow alcove filled with soft living material. Arvael stirred the mass with a tendril-like appendage. A gentle mist rose, carrying traces of the planet's atmosphere. Here, she conveyed, use this space. Mara knelt and began unpacking her instruments. Iku hovered nearby, its scanners already mapping the materials. pH levels are stable around 7.2, it reported. Organic matrix is 98% similar to Earth's loam, with trace xenometals. Mara smiled, despite the gravity of the moment. Good, we have a starting point. She linked her datapad to Iku's scanner. Begin sample logging. We'll run a control batch of Earth nanogel and one with Silvorian microbes, then compare degradation rates on heavy metal analogs. Arvail watched in silence, the chamber light flickering in harmony with its thoughts. Mara felt the weight of the Queen's observant gaze and realized how much depended on this first experiment. If it failed, the planet's healing would stall, and Arvail's life would slip further away. Mara steadied her breath. Let's begin. She measured a precise amount of silica-based nanocarrier and blended it with a droplet of Terran extremophile culture. Gently, she added a sample of the living matrix. The mixture glowed faintly under the chamber's light. Iku activated its spectroanalysis. Trace toxins detected at baseline concentrations, initiating catalytic reaction. On Mara's HUD, she watched live graphs of molecular breakdown. Within seconds, the toxins began converting into inert compounds. The living matrix's glow pulsed faster, as if cheering the success. Mara's heart raced. It's working. She tapped her pad. Infuse a small pulse into the siphon. A soft hum spread through the alcove's conduits. The reaction accelerated. Mara felt a gentle vibration under her boots. The organism itself was alive with renewed energy. Arvail sent a thought that resonated deep in Mara's mind. You have given me hope. Tears blurred Mara's vision, but she could not afford to halt the experiment. We need to let it run longer. She adjusted dosage, carefully monitoring every metric. Outside, in the grand chamber, the bioluminescent veins pulsed in rhythmic surges, each brighter than the last. Mara sensed the organism's heartbeat match the reaction pulses. Time seemed to stretch as she watched data scrolling across her HUD. Microbes multiplying, toxins vanishing, crystal nodes regenerating. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Iku reported, system stabilization achieved. Toxin levels reduced by 98%. Core energy readings at 75% of maximum. Mara exhaled, a laugh of relief escaping her helmet. We did it. She looked up at Arvail, whose eyes shone with an intensity that warmed Mara's chest. You have saved us, the Queen whispered in thought. Mara shook her head. No, you saved me. You saved us. We'll rebuild your world. Together. The chamber's light softened, the veins slowing to a steady, healthy glow. In that moment, beneath the living arches of the alien vessel, human and Queen stood as partners, bound by hope, science, and a promise that spanned two worlds. A quiet hum filled the living chamber as Dr. Mara Ellison and Queen Arvail stood before the crystalline dais. The success of the first experiment had sent ripples of renewed energy through the organism's veins. Mara felt the gentle vibration under her boots as if the entire structure were breathing a sigh of relief. Yet in the back of her mind, she knew that restoring the planet's biosphere would require a deeper understanding of the Queen's life bond and her world's ancient systems. Mara tapped her datapad, bringing up graphs and spectral analyses. The nanogel infusion had stabilized core toxin levels to safe thresholds, but it had only been a small pulse. To heal Silvoria fully, they needed to scale up. And to do that safely, Mara had to learn more about the Queen's physiology. I need to map your life energy channels, Mara said, voice calm despite the stakes. If we can trace how your bond flows through this vessel, we can optimize where to introduce larger doses. Arvail inclined her head gracefully. In the Queen's glowing eyes, Mara saw both trust and quiet pain. I will share my mind. With you, Arvail conveyed in thought. But be warned. My memories carry sorrow and joy in equal measure. Mara swallowed, her heart thrumming. I understand. I'm ready. Arvael stepped forward and placed her hand on the side of Mara's helmet. The contact sent a shiver through Mara, as if the queen had plugged her directly into the organism's power core. Soft lights pulsed along the veins in the walls, converging on a crystalline node at the center of the dais. Mara's vision blurred, then shifted. She stood on a high balcony overlooking a city of twisting spires. Luminous vines climbed the buildings. Women and men of graceful build moved through gardens that floated on wide rivers. 2 moons hung low in a violet sky. In her mind, Arvael's memories spoke without words. Our home city, Talera. We built it in harmony with living crystal. Every building was grown, not built. Our children learned to sing to the world, and the world sang back. Mara felt a surge of wonder. She walked the memory city, touching the living buildings, feeling their pulse. Each structure responded to her touch, welcoming her as if she were kin. Then the scene shifted. The sky darkened. Toxic storms whipped through the streets. The rivers turned black and gardens wilted. People fled in panic, their songs drowned by thunder. The poison came from beneath. Arvael's sorrow touched Mara's mind. A fracture in the crust released metal poisons into our veins. Our living crystal could not filter it fast enough. Mara watched as Arvael stood in the palace courtyard, her slender form glowing dim against the dark sky. The queen raised, her hands and vines twisted around her, but the roots could not pull the poison from the ground fast enough. The memory ended with Arvael kneeling, tears of light flowing from her eyes. Mara felt a pang of guilt. I am sorry, she thought, though this was not her fault. But we will fix this, we have begun. The memory dissolved and Mara floated back into the living chamber. The queen's hand released her helmet, and the pulsing lights slowed. Mara's visor display showed stable oxygen, but she felt breathless from the mental journey. Arvael's voice entered her mind gently. You have seen our world's beauty and our pain. My bond runs along these exact channels. In the air, soft ribbons of light traced lines from the queen's heart area to her fingertips, then extended outward, into the chamber's veins. Mara studied the pattern. If we tap at the root nodes near your core, we can spread the healing compounds faster, but we must avoid overloading any single channel. She pointed to a cluster of crystal tendrils. Here and here. Arvael nodded, and the chamber's veins brightened to highlight the suggested nodes. Mara accessed her pad and marked the coordinates. Then she tapped instructions to Iku, who hovered with a small carrier box. Iku, prepare 2 infusion modules, Mara ordered. Module A with the original nanogel formula, Module B with the amplified version. We'll begin Module A at Node 1 and Module B at Node 2. Monitor all vital readings and abort if the Queen's energy shows distress. Iku's optical sensors glowed as it assembled the modules. Modules ready in 30 seconds. Mara breathed deeply. Thank you, Iku. She looked at Arvael. I'll start the infusion now. Arvael's eyes shone with calm determination. In her mind, she sent Mara a single word. Together. Mara keyed the command. A soft hum rose as Module A connected to Node 1, its crystalline tip merging seamlessly with the vein. The nanogel flowed in, glowing faint green. Mara watched her HUD. Toxin levels in the local area began to drop, while energy readings climbed. Slowly, she activated Module B at Node 2. The amplified nanogel streamed in, brighter and faster. The chamber's veins pulsed in strong surges of light. Mara's HUD showed a rapid purification and regeneration cycle. For several minutes they held that rhythm, infusing, monitoring, adjusting. Time blurred as Mara made minute tweaks, increasing flow by 1% here, delaying a pulse there. Iku called out readings, core stability, energy flux, toxin reduction. Finally, Mara saw the data she had hoped for. Overall toxin levels down, 98%. Crystal integrity at 105% of original strength. The Queen's energy stable and even rising. It's working, Mara said, her voice trembling. She removed her helmet and breathed the chamber air, which felt mild and sweet. Arvale extended a hand. Mara took it, and a cord of warm light bound them. In that shared glow, Mara felt the living organism's full heartbeat, a steady pulse that resonated through her body. She sensed the planet's rivers flowing again, the forest pushing new shoots and life waking from a deep poisoned slumber. "You have exceeded my hopes," Arvale's voice whispered in Mara's mind. "My world will live again because of you." Tears filled Mara's eyes. "I could not have done this without you and without hope." She pressed her hand to her heart. "Let's share this with Earth. Let them know that even the greatest poison can be cleansed." Arvale's laughter rippled like music through Mara's thoughts. "Then let us prepare. More will come to help." In the revived light of the living chamber, Human and Queen shared a silent vow to carry this success onward, to heal Silvoria's wounds fully, and to weave together two worlds in a symbiosis born of science, trust, and compassion. Outside, the living vessel shone like a beacon in the Nabora expanse, a promise of new life against the darkness. Dawn broke over the pale violet sky of Silvoria, as Dr. Mara Ellison and the human research team prepared for the planet's greatest healing effort. The living vessel that had carried Queen Arvale drifted in orbit, its veins glowing softly, like watchful guardians. Below, massive bioluminescent forests lay silent, their once green crowns now dull and brittle. Rivers wound through cracked soil, carrying poison in muted currents. Mara stood at the edge of the landing platform, her boots echoing on the smooth crystalline surface. Around her, engineers and xenobotanists clustered beneath portable shelters. Each shelter held vats of the specially formulated nanogel infused with Silvorian microbes. Iku, the exploration android, hovered nearby, its scanners ready. Arvale appeared beside Mara, her presence serene and powerful. Her gown shimmered with threads of living crystal, each reflecting the first light of dawn. Mara met the Queen's glowing eyes. Wordlessly, Arvale conveyed both pride and an unspoken concern for her world's fate. Mara inhaled deeply. "This is it," she said softly. "We start the final phase today." Arvale inclined her head. Through the bond they shared, Mara felt the pulses of the vessel, its heartbeat steady, its energy reserves full. The organism was ready. A signal sounded, and the team moved into position. Portable pumps hissed as they drew nanogel from vats into reinforced infusion canisters. Two hover drones, painted in earth blue and white, lifted the canisters and took flight toward the planet below. Mara watched the drones descend into the alien atmosphere. She turned to Iku. "Monitor their descent. Make sure the canisters remain stable in the high gravity zones." The android's optical sensors blinked. "Understood. Gravity levels are consistent with orbital scans. Descent is nominal." Below, the first drone entered the misty clouds and re-emerged over a vast plain of crystalline rock. Its pumps activated, shooting the nanogel in fine jets into fissures that ran deep into Silvoria's mantle. The microbial agents spread swiftly, seeking out the toxic deposits that had killed the living forests. Back on the platform, Mara's HUD displayed live feeds from each drone. The second drone was already at work near a dried riverbed. Tiny crystals glowed as they reacted with the solution, cracking open to release spores that drifted downwind. "Look at those tendrils," said Dr. Henry Court, the team's lead xenobotanist. He pointed to the monitor where living vines twisted through the crystalline channels. "They're growing before our eyes." Mara smiled. "That's the promise of symbiosis." Hours passed in a flurry of activity. Each drone, under Iku's guidance, targeted different ecological zones. Marshlands clogged with metallic sludge, mountain highlands with poisoned snow, and desert basins where spores once lay dormant. As the nanogel took hold, subtle changes appeared. In the marshlands, water filtered clear within minutes. Tiny emerald shoots pushed through the sediment, their leaves uncurling. The air filled with the soft croon of alien insects drawn by the new growth. On the mountains, frost gave way to glimmering ice crystals shielded by living biofilm. Soon, snowmelt fed the rivers below, carrying life-bearing water. Even the desert basins showed promise. Fungal mats spread across the cracked ground, their mycelia mining deep layers of rock and transforming them into nutrient-rich soil. Mara watched in awe. Each success was a testament to the careful balance of human engineering and Silvorian biology. Yet she also knew the planet still needed more time to heal fully. As the sun climbed higher, our veil floated beside her once more. They heal faster than I dared imagine, the Queen thought. But the heart of the forest remains weak. Mara nodded. We save the outer veins, but we must revive the central grove, the old heart. Its trees hold the memory of your world's purest days. Arvail's form brightened. Then let us go there. A short distance away, a living shuttle awaited. Its hull was grown from the vessel's own tissue, and its engines pulsed with organic energy. Mara and Arvail boarded together, joined by a small escort team of biologists. The shuttle lifted off, ascending through the healing atmosphere. Below, the vast living structure of Silvoria's forest stretched out like an emerald ocean. Yet at the center lay the old heart, a clearing ringed by skeletal trunks and dead vines. No light filtered through its gloom. The shuttle landed nearby. Soft pads sank into the brittle ground. Mara stepped out, feeling the weight of the moment. She pressed a gloved hand to her chest. This is where we finish our work. Arvail joined her. Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting ancient sorrow. This is where our bond is strongest and weakest, the Queen told Mara. My life and this grove are one. Mara knelt and placed a small crystalline probe into the soil. The device hummed and projected data. Toxin levels at critical mass, nearly double what they had seen elsewhere. The roots of the old heart trees were entangled with poisoned crystals, their veins dry and brittle. Dr. Court set up a large infusion unit. We'll need a higher concentration here, he said. But slowly, over several cycles, or the system might reject it, Mara agreed. We'll start with a single pulse, IQ. Calibrate the infusion rate at 20% of the maximum. The android's scanners blinked. Calibration complete. Mara pressed the activation panel. A soft rush of nanogel flowed into the ground. The mist around them shimmered as microbes spread. The team watched breathlessly. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then, at the edge of the clearing, a tiny green sprout broke through the dead soil. It unfurled a single leaf, shimmering with bioluminescence. Arvail let out a breath of relief. Life returns, she thought. The old heart awakens. Slowly, more shoots appeared. The skeletal trunks behind Mara glowed faintly, veins filling with new energy. A low hum filled the air, as if the forest itself were singing again. Mara's eyes shone with wonder and gratitude. We did it, she whispered. You did it. Arvail pressed a hand to her heart. Together, she sent. As daylight spread over Silvoria, the healed veins of the planet pulsed in time with the living vessel above. Tiny spores drifted on the breeze, carrying promise across the land. Rivers would flow clear again, forests would reclaim the sky, and the twin moons would watch over a world reborn. On the landing platform back at the orbital vessel, Mara and Arvail emerged from the shuttle to applause and cheers. Human engineers and xenobiologists embraced, tears in their eyes. Mara looked at the Queen, whose eyes gleamed with deep joy. Your world lives again, Mara thought. Arvail answered in her mind, her voice like music. And so does hope. For all species. In that moment under the violet dawn, two worlds stood united, bound by science, compassion, and the simple truth that life, once given a chance, will always find a way. A soft chorus of cheers rose through the grand hall of the living vessel as Dr. Mara Ellison and Queen Arvail stood side by side. The walls, once dim and weary, now glowed with renewed bioluminescence in swirling patterns of green and violet. Scientists from Earth and Silvorian envoys filled the chamber, their faces alight with joy. Lantern-like crystals floated overhead, casting gentle light on the celebration below. Mara watched as Arvael raised her slender hand. The hall fell silent, and every gathered being, human and alien alike, turned toward the queen. In that moment, Mara felt the full weight of what they had achieved together. Earth's finest minds had lent their science to an alien world. Silvoria's ancient wisdom had embraced human ingenuity. A bond stronger than metal or crystal had formed between them. People of Silvoria, friends from Earth. Arvael's voice filled the minds of all who listened, soft yet clear. Mara sensed the power behind each word, years of hope, sorrow, and now triumph woven together. Today, our world breathes again. Rivers run pure, forests grow green, the old heart beats once more. A wave of applause and telepathic echoes of joy swept through the crowd. Mara's suit hummed softly at her side, its sensors confirming the queen's success. Yet Mara's thoughts were already on what would come next. Healing an entire planet was only the first step. Now they had to share this gift of life with worlds beyond. Mara stepped forward, heart pounding in her chest. She lifted her hand and addressed the assembly in plain bursts of speech that she knew translators would broadcast across the vessel. "I stand here humbled," she began, voice steady. "We came as strangers. We leave as partners. Silvoria taught us new ways to see life, and Earth offered tools of science and hope. Let this moment be the first of many, not the last." Arvael turned to Mara, her violet eyes shining. In Mara's mind, the queen sent a single thought: we are forever bound. Mara nodded, feeling the gentle warmth of that bond spread through her. She knew that when she returned home, Earth's leaders would welcome this new chapter, a chance to learn from Silvoria's living technology and to offer Earth's experience in return. As the celebration continued, small groups formed around living crystal tables laden with food grown in Martian biodomes and Silvorian fruit gels. Mara drifted through clusters of laughing scientists, sharing quick smiles and pats on shoulders. She noticed a young xenobotanist teaching a Silvorian child to hold a pipette. Nearby, an Arvael's court musician coaxed a lilting melody from a crystalline harp, its strings alive with subtle pulses. Mara felt a tug at her sleeve and turned, to find Iku's calm faceplate reflecting the light. The android's voice whispered in her helmet. "All systems remain stable. Communications ready for Earth broadcast." Mara smiled. "Send our joint message," she replied. She turned back to the gathering and spoke into her suit's mic. "To the people of Earth, we have found life more precious than we ever knew. We invite you to witness the rebirth of Silvoria. Share in our story and let us heal our worlds together." Far below, the planet shone like an emerald jewel in the violet dawn. Through the vessel's transparent hull, Mara watched rivers glint and forests pulse. She remembered how dull and silent these lands had been only days before. Now every living thing seemed to join the chorus of renewal. Birds, cleverly bioengineered by Earth's ornithologists, soared through the mist, singing for the first time in centuries. In the private chambers that night, Mara sat before a holodesk preparing her final log entry. She wrote in simple English, knowing future readers would translate her words many times over. June 17th, 2425, Silvoria orbital vessel. We came with little more than hope and curiosity. We found an alien queen whose fate was tied to her worlds. Through shared science and unity of purpose, we restored life to a dying planet. In saving Silvoria, we discovered the power of empathy and cooperation across species. Our journey home will carry not only data and samples, but a bond that will shape the future of two worlds. Mara saved the entry and looked out at the living walls, still pulsing gently. She sensed Arvael's presence beside her and offered a quiet word of gratitude. "Thank you," she thought, "for your trust, your courage, your life." Tomorrow the human crew would depart for Earth, and Silvorian ambassadors would join them. Plans were already underway to build a joint research outpost in orbit, where humans and Silvorians could continue sharing knowledge. Mara felt a thrill of anticipation. This was more than a mission's end. It was a new beginning. In the early hours of the next cycle, The living vessel's engines hummed as it prepared to release the human shuttle. Mara secured her gear and hugged Iku's metallic frame. She stepped into the shuttle's cabin and took one last look at Arvael on the launch platform. The Queen lifted a hand in farewell, her crystal gown refracting the dawn's light into a rainbow of hope. Mara smiled through her visor and replied with a thought of her own. "We will meet again." The shuttle lifted gently, passing through the vessel's organic hull. As it broke into clear space, Mara watched Silvoria drop away, its forests and rivers glowing anew. She felt the planet's heartbeat through the shuttle's comlink, a gentle pulse that matched her own. Turning to her crew, Mara spoke softly, "This is just the start. Let's bring Earth to Silvoria and Silvoria to Earth." Below, the living vessel shone like a beacon in the Nebura expanse, its renewed heart echoing across the stars, a promise that life, once given a chance, will always rise again.